watching your award-winning cable access station, Channel 13 and 19, Athol Orange Community Television.
Hi, this is Hattie Nessel, and we are at Athol Orange Community Television, and we're also on air at the radio station 105.9 WVAO Athol Orange Radio. The date today is April 21st. It doesn't feel like it out there, but it is April 21st, 2017. And this is called Save the Planet Updates. I was away for several weeks because of helping out with grandchildren, and I'm back, and I had a wonderful time, and it was great weather out there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, but I missed being able to give all the news here. So I want to start out with why we oppose pipelines. It's just the bedrock of why we are opposing pipelines. Methane is the primary component of natural gas. Methane escapes into the atmosphere at many various points along the gas distribution network, from the wells where it originates to homes and businesses where it's burned. A potent greenhouse gas, methane, has 34 times the heat-trapping potential of carbon dioxide over a 100-year period, more than carbon dioxide, CO2. When burned in our homes for heat, it releases 70% of the same CO2 that oil or coal release, which is why the industry claims it burns cleaner than oil or coal. But natural gas releases 87% more methane than either oil or coal. The oil industry never mentions that fact. In Massachusetts, analysis by the Conservation Law Foundation indicates that even if the leak rate was greatly reduced and increased dependency on natural gas as an energy source for heating homes and providing electricity would not allow the state to achieve its stated policy of an 80% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. So we are working to save the planet, and that's why this is called Save the Planet Updates. I'm going to mention a few things now. There was just an anti-pipeline demonstration in Amherst, Massachusetts, with a number of people outside Bank of America. Bank of America is a major funder of fossil fuels. So they were saying that they wanted to have people not bank at Bank of America. And I've read about the other banks that are not local banks. So TD, Bank of America, several of the other large banks are enabling the fossil fuel industry to keep going to the detriment of the people in Massachusetts and around the world. So they were there. It was in the, an article was in the Springfield Republican. It was April 14th. Anti-pipeline activists perform outside of the bank. And they are talking about, without bank financing, the pipelines could not be built. We are here to educate people. Close your accounts, pull your investments from banks financing the fossil fuel industry, said the group. And one of the organizations now that is working on this is called massdivest.org, capital M-A-S-S, capital D-I-V-E-S-T.org. DivestOurPensionsNow.org. So what this organization is doing is saying to the legislature in Massachusetts, if you have a pension fund in the state of Massachusetts, at this moment, you have no say over where that pension fund invests your pension money. And it could be very much in a fossil fuel pipeline, like the one that we stopped going through Massachusetts, the NED, or the one at Otis, Sandersfield, conservation land, which is still up in the air and we're trying to stop. So what we do is we are asking the state to give us a ruling through the legislature to not invest anybody's pension fund into any bank or any financial institution, mutual fund, whatever, that is invested in fossil fuels. So if you want to write to Governor Baker, we have that at the end, notes. And the legislature, our senators who are with us on this completely, Senator Warren and Senator Ed Markey, or your state representative, who in this area is Susanna Whipps Lee and Paul Mark, you can let them know that we do not want, it's called the MRIT, it's the Pension Reserves Investment Trust. So that's massdivest.org. And then I want to bring you some good news. While investments in renewable energy slumped last year, a big drop in unsubsidized costs for new wind and solar power installations indicated that they remain popular energy alternatives. Last year, the average total cost of generating power from solar worldwide dropped 17%. So if you were going to be putting in solar in 2016 versus 2015, you would be saving 17% this 2016 over 2015. Onshore wind costs dropped 18%. And the offshore wind turbine power costs fell 28%. And this is according to a new report from the United Nations and Bloomberg New Energy Finance. So this is very exciting news. Unsubsidized wind and solar are now the cheapest sources for new electric power. Last year, the average capital cost for solar power projects of new construction was 13% less than 2015, while for onshore wind, the drop was 11.5%, and offshore wind, 10%. Last year, more gigawatts of solar power were added, 75 gigawatts, more than any other technology for the first time. Trailing behind solar in order of net gigawatts installed were wind, coal, gas, large hydro, nuclear, and biomass. Renewable energy, this is really a good one, accounted for 55% of new worldwide power last year, or a total of 138.5 gigawatts. That compares with 127.5 in 2015. So a major reason while installations increased, even though dollars invested fell, was a sharp reduction in capital costs for solar voltaics, onshore and offshore. Investment in new renewable capacity was roughly double that in fossil fuel generation for the fifth successive year. The proportion of global electricity coming from renewable sources rose from 2015 to 2016 by 1%. So we've got smart meters, energy storage sources, all kinds of electric vehicles, energy efficiencies that are helping us reduce our dependence on fossil fuels, coal, etc. China, unfortunately for us, but fortunately for the world, is now the world leader in domestic investments in renewable energy. I mean, the reason I'm saying unfortunately for us is because I'd like to beat China. but we're not. In 2015, it invested $103 billion, a 17% increase in spending over a year, twice as much as the U.S. invested. So, folks, let's catch up to China. In 2016, China increased its foreign investments in a renewable energy by 60% over the year to $32 billion. So things are, really moving right along. And I want to mention that, as always, I have these reusable bags here. Now, these happen to be plastic, which makes them very durable. They last a long time. And I love them. This one I brought back from California, and it's of the Golden Gate Bridge. And this one is in Hannaford, and it is of children's drawings. And this one is also in Hannaford. And I wanted to say, when I was in California, of course, they have a state law that says the supermarkets, the big box stores, whatever, cannot hand out single-use plastic bags. So everybody either has to bring their own reusable bag, buy it in the store, or pay for a paper bag. And of course, paper is not the best option as far as I'm concerned, because it's trees coming down, and usually you use a paper bag once or twice, and it'll tear. So I encourage you, if you don't have your reusable bags in the car, put them in the car. And I have shown this before. This is a small bag that I keep in my reusable bag so that I can put a head of broccoli in here and then rinse it out. I don't have to throw it right into my reusable bags. And there are definitely reusable bags out and about now that you can buy in most stores, if you just ask for it or look around, that are fabric. They're not even plastic. So that's another option. And they're in Market Basket, they're in Hannaford's, they're in the dollar store, they're in CVS. They're all over the place. I know that pretty soon it is going to be time for our town to become one of the 40-some towns in Massachusetts that will not allow single-use plastic bags to be given out in our supermarkets. So I want to thank you for listening to the program today, and this is Hattie Nessel at AOTV talking about Save the Planet updates, and I'll see you next week.